Day, we are talking National Hispanic Heritage Month. And earlier this week, President Biden signed an executive order reestablishing a White House initiative addressing education equity for Hispanic students.
Joining us now is the man who will serve as the chair of that new initiative as this school year gets underway. We are very happy to welcome U.S. Secretary of Education, Dr. Miguel Cardona. Welcome him back, actually, to GMA3. Thank you for coming back, Secretary Cardona. We appreciate it. And you, talk, if you would, a little bit about the biggest challenges you see facing Hispanic and Latino students and what you hope this initiative will accomplish.
Great. Well, thank you for having me. Always glad to be here with you. And, you know, this is a very important moment. This initiative really focuses on ensuring equity and access for all students across the country, but in particular, in this case, Latino students. We know Latinos are a growing population, and we want to make sure that some of the disparities, even before the pandemic, that existed in educational outcomes get addressed boldly and with focus.
Give me a bold example. What boldly is going to be addressed, are you hoping to address, that is going to help specifically Hispanic students?
We want access to higher education for Latino students at the same rate as other students. We want to make sure completion happens. So we know that college leads to potential better employment. We also want to make sure at the pre-K level that Latino students have access to early childhood education that serves as a foundation. And there are areas where we know gaps exist, and we're going to look at that, and we're going to problem solve, we're going to brainstorm, we're going to get it done.
All right, well, you're also setting off on a big road trip, and you're actually on the road. You've got a bus, you're starting next week, you're doing 5 states in 5 days. What's the goal?
The goal is to see reopening across the country firsthand. You know, I spend a lot of time visiting big cities and visiting schools and more and larger urban areas. I want to go see rural America too. I want to see how reopening is going in different parts of the country. I'm excited. Usually when you're around students, you have this enthusiasm. It rubs off on you. So I'm excited to see the reopening efforts across the country.
Well, certainly looking at you, we can tell there's some enthusiasm just on that face of yours as you talk about it. And you're hitting the road, but you also you all put out a roadmap for schools to return and students to return to school safely. That has to be the priority, of course, is for kids to be safe. What do you see around the country? These are guidelines you're kind of putting out there for everyone, but what are you seeing that concerns you and maybe possibly some states that concerns you about not enough being done to ensure that the kids are as safe as possible as we go back still in the middle of a pandemic?
You hit it, TJ, you know, safety, right? So 50 million students across the country are going back to school. And we're excited about that. And what I've seen is really positive. But I do know that in some places, we need to make sure we're doing more to protect our students and staff and following those mitigation strategies. So this reopening roadmap that you mentioned does provide strategies, great examples, guidance around, number one, keeping kids and staff safe. Number two, addressing their social emotional well-being. And number three, providing academic acceleration so that they can catch up on whatever was missed.
Secretary, how are you dealing with combating people, governors specifically, we're talking about Ron DeSantis, we're talking about Greg Abbott, who believe that keeping kids safe doesn't involve wearing masks, in fact, prohibiting mask mandates? How do you address that as Secretary of Education?
Right. The overwhelming majority of Americans believe masks are needed to keep children safe in schools. We know it's working. If you look at the data in places where we see more hospitalizations, those are places where the mitigation strategies are not being used. So we're pushing the message. We're supporting our superintendents and our educators who are doing amazing work getting our students back into the classroom safely. We're supporting them, and where necessary, we're investigating through the Office for Civil Rights where we believe students are not having access to schools because of really poor policy.
Do you have, I guess to that last point there, do you have an enforcement option? You can encourage and message all day long, but if they're not doing it, are you looking at avenues of forcing some places, some states, to make sure those mitigation measures, masks, yes, mandates can be put in place if the school district wants it?
You know, we can always withhold funds, although that hurts children, and we don't do that unless it's absolutely necessary. We don't want to withhold funds because the students are the ones that the funds are intended to support. What we're doing is we're supporting the superintendents when they are following the protocols that they're supposed to. And that includes providing the funds that are being withheld by the state as a result of some of the threats and some of the actions taken by the state for those superintendents who are doing their job protecting children.
Well, U.S. Secretary of Education Miguel Cardona, thank you so much for being with us, and safe travels on the road next week.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, hey there, GMA fans. Robin Roberts here. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Lots of great stuff here. So go on, click the subscribe button right over here to get more of awesome videos and content from GMA every day, anytime. We thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the morning on GMA.